Very good afternoon. You are listening to Change Radio News. Today is Thursday, the 26th of June, 2025. The news read by Olive Rujidzo. The headlines: Zimbabweans remember the violent 27 June runoff election. Tagwirei sparks outrage over tender remarks, and Councillor Indaba turned into a Zanu PF 2030 agenda. And now for the news in detail. Today marks the anniversary of the infamous 2008 Zimbabwean presidential election, where Robert Mugabe of ZANU-PF ran uncontested and declared himself the winner with an astonishing 99.9% of the vote. This election was marred by violence and bloodshed, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of innocent MDC supporters. The event remains a dark chapter in Zimbabwe's history, highlighting the need for democratic reforms and an end to violence in politics. Change Radio spoke to Honorable Jefferson Chitando, who had this to say.
Today, Zimbabweans remember the 27 June 2008 elections, which can be termed as the darkest chapter of our electoral history. This is an election in which Robert Gabriel Mugabe, ZANU-PF candidate, contested against himself and declared himself a winner with 99%. After there was an unprecedented levels of political violence ever seen in this country during election times. It can only be compared to the Kukura-Windi era. We as Zimbabweans must accept that this should never happen again in Zimbabwe. So, I propose that if it was in my power, I would declare today a democracy day, so that Zimbabweans would sit down every year, discuss, remember, and appreciate that election is a time for contestation in a free, fair, democratic, and transparent manner without violence. Then the second thing is I would propose that the Parliament of Zimbabwe to enact a law which outlaws inflammatory, primitive, and barbaric slogans of hate, like Pasi na Chamisa. Unakagwa mdenga, Robera Pasi, bha. All those are violent, inciting slogans which should not have any room in a modern democratic society.
June 27, 2008 remains a painful memory for many Zimbabweans. That year marked severe hunger, economic collapse, and widespread political violence. The violent runoff election on this day saw brutal attacks on opposition supporters, resulting in deaths, displacement, and destruction. Despite Dr. Tagwirei's March election victory, ZANU-PF forced a runoff and violence and intimidation. Tagwirei later withdrew, citing the brutal crackdown. Thousands suffered, but justice remains elusive. June 27, 2008 is a day Zimbabwe will not forget. Controversial businessman and ZANU-PF official Kudakwashe Tagwirei has come under fire for calling Zimbabweans who don't seek government tenders foolish. Speaking at NUST, he defended tenderpreneurs and said the government is the country's biggest buyer. Critics, including economist Tinashe Murapata and businessman Kudamsasiwa, slammed the comments, calling for fair access to tenders. Tagwirei, who is under United States and United Kingdom sanctions, has benefited from multi-billion-dollar state deals. Meanwhile, Kudakwashe Tagwirei is under fire after distributing large amounts of cash to 4 ED affiliates during a land tenure event. Critics say the funds bypass formal banking systems and mirror similar actions by Wicknell Chivayo. The move has raised concerns over transparency, especially as the economy struggles with cash shortages. The fourth Councillor's Indaba held yesterday at the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair ZITF in Bulawayo reportedly turned out to be a ZANU-PF 4ED 2030 agenda. Videos circulating on social media show the MC repeating the slogan and individuals within the crowd wearing scarves, raining fists, and even standing up in response. The event resembled a ZANU-PF meeting where the slogan ended with Pasi Nemandu. Police in Masvingo have arrested 29-year-old Tafadzwa Zimbabweans linked to over 200 violent crimes since 2023, including armed robbery, rape, kidnapping, and murder. He was caught in Gudu last year and has been charged with killing Jacob Museva during a robbery in Mwenezi. Zimbabweans is in custody and will appear in court on July 4. Police urge anyone with more information to come forward. Zimbabwean activists in the United States and Canada have forced cancellation of Japreza's shows over his links to Wicknell Chivayo, a convicted fraudster and ZANU-PF financier. Protests included petitions, letters to officials, and threats to report undocumented Zimbabweans. In Canada, activists are pushing for a travel ban against Japreza. Critics say Chivayo's stolen funds should support public services and not buy luxury cars for artists. Armed robbers have hit Mount Darwin and Bulawayo in 2 separate heists, stealing over $1.2 million in total. In Mount Darwin, 3 suspects raided a bank on June 26, escaping with $700,000 and 2.4 kilograms of gold after overpowering a guard and blasting a safe. A day earlier, another gang struck on Old Nick Mine in Bulawayo, stealing $520,000. Police spokesperson Assistant Commissioner Paul Nyati confirmed the incidents, and he said investigations were ongoing. Conservationists in Hwange are warning that speeding through wildlife is killing endangered animals and threatening tourism. Dogs, elephants, and foxes are being hit on roads like the Bulawayo Victoria Falls Highway. David Kubawoga from Painted Dog Conservation says losing even one key animal can destroy entire packs. With road upgrades underway, experts are calling for wildlife-friendly measures and stricter traffic laws to prevent more deaths. A security guard is in critical condition after an alleged assault at a Mazoe mine site involving Bellarmine Chatunga, son of the late President Mugabe. Witnesses say Chatunga led an armed group into ultimate mining, accusing staff of allowing intruders onto Grace Mugabe's property. At least 3 workers suffered serious injuries, including skull and rib fractures. Victims claimed they were dragged into the Mugabe compound, doused with water and beaten with logs and metal rods. Medical reports from Paririnyatwa Hospital confirm severe, potentially permanent injuries. Police are investigating. In international news, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni will run for re-election in 2026, potentially extending his rule beyond 40 years. The ruling party says the 80-year-old leader will collect nomination forms tomorrow. Museveni has been in power since 1986 after removing age and term limits. He is expected to face opposition leader Bobby Wine again, who alleges past elections were rigged. Rights groups accuse Museveni of silencing critics and claims he denies. Youths in Malawi are demanding the removal of the Electoral Commission chairperson and her team ahead of the September elections, citing bias. Videos on social media show protests in the streets under heavy police presence. Analysts say this push for electoral integrity, inspired by recent events in Kenya, could spread to Zimbabwe, where critics who also accuse the ZEC of being compromised. The United States now requires all F, M, and J visa applicants to set their social media accounts to public. Effective immediately, the rule covers platforms like Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, allowing authorities to review online activity as part of security checks. President Hakainde Hichilema has called off the national mourning for former President Edward Lungu. Veteran politician Vernon Mwanga praised Hichilema for balancing respect with state protocol. Activist Sikaile commended his leadership and maturity despite resistance from Lungu's family and Patriotic Front members. In sports news, Highlanders Football Club has been rocked by a surprise leadership shake-up. The club's acting CEO, Mr. Kindman Dlovu, resigned with immediate effect on Wednesday, June 26. In his statement, Dlovu cited internal interference and fears of reputational damage as reasons for his sudden departure. The development has sparked concern among fans and stakeholders, with questions now mounting over the stability at the top of one of Zimbabwe's biggest football clubs. Cristiano Ronaldo has signed a new 2-year deal with Al Nassr, extending his stay in the Saudi Pro League. Since joining in 2022, Ronaldo has scored 93 goals in 105 matches for the club. To end the bulletin, here are the headlines once again. Zimbabweans remember the violent 27 June violent runoff election. Tagwirei sparks outrage over tender remarks. And Councillor Indaba turned into a Zanu PF 2030 agenda. This concludes our bulletin for today. Thank you for listening. From myself, Olive, and the entire team at Change Radio, have a blessed weekend.